deadly world war between two sides, where people are dying back and forth. In between the chaos, a young girl with blonde hair and blue eyes emerges, displaying incredible combat abilities that belie her small size. She was Tanya, a ruthless and cunning officer in the Imperial Army who was reincarnated from a businessman in Japan. Tanya's commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Ryujin, is impressed by her tactical prowess and promotes her to the rank of Major. Tanya continues to lead the charge off the Imperial Army, decimating the Republic Army's defenses and forcing them to retreat. As the episode progresses, we learn more about Tanya's personality and motivations. She is determined to climb the ranks and ensure her own survival in the war, even if it means sacrificing the lives of her subordinates. Tanya also has a deep hatred for the concept of God, which she views as a hindrance to her success. Tanya encounters a mysterious entity known as Being X who claims to be God and tells her that her soul will never know peace as long as she continues to deny his existence. Tanya dismisses Being X's claims as nonsense and continues to pursue her ambitions. Tanya and her unit advance further into Republic territory. Along the way, Tanya clashes with her superiors over her tactics, as they see her methods as needlessly risky and expensive in terms of manpower. Tanya disregards their concerns and continues to push forward, determined to secure a decisive victory for the Empire. Victoria Ivanovna Serebryakov, who serves as Tanya's aide-de-camp, is initially intimidated by Tanya's cold and ruthless demeanor, but over time she grows to respect and admire her commander's abilities. Tanya and her unit encounter heavy resistance from the Republic Army, which leads to a brutal battle in the city of Dasha. Despite suffering heavy casualties, Tanya is able to turn the tide of the battle and secure a victory for the Empire. General Zetter, a high-ranking officer in the Imperial Army, sees Tanya as a potential threat to his own power. Zetter sends Tanya on a dangerous mission deep into enemy territory, hoping to eliminate her and eliminate the risk she poses to his position. She is accompanied by a team of soldiers, including Victoria and a new character named Harold, who is an experienced scout. Tanya and her team encounter a group of Republican soldiers who have taken refuge in a church. Tanya decides to attack the church and eliminate the enemy soldiers, despite Harold's objections that it goes against the principles of war. In the ensuing battle, Tanya emerges victorious, but is haunted by visions of Being X, who taunts her for her ruthless behavior. Later, Tanya and her team successfully infiltrate a Republican airfield and gather valuable intelligence on their planes and technology. However, their mission is compromised when a Republic spy reveals their presence to the enemy. Tanya and her team are forced to fight their way out of the airfield, and in the chaos, Harold is killed. Now, she becomes even more determined to achieve her goals and defeat the Republic, no matter what the cost. Tanya is summoned to the Imperial Army's headquarters in Berlin to participate in a top-secret project known as the Program. The project involves the development of new technology that will allow the Empire to achieve air superiority over the Republic, which is currently ahead in terms of aviation capabilities. At the headquarters, Tanya encounters several new characters, including Lieutenant Colonel Erich von Ryujin, Captain Weiss, an expert in engineering and technology, and Colonel von Zetter. Tanya and the other officers work to develop new planes and weapons that will give the Empire an edge in the war. However, tensions rise when Tanya clashes with Weiss over the best way to design the planes. Tanya is convinced that speed and maneuverability are key, while Weiss favors a more heavily armored design. The team finally manages to create a prototype plane that exceeds all expectations. However, the success is short-lived, as the Republic launches a surprise attack on the Imperial Army's headquarters. Tanya is forced to take to the skies in the prototype plane, which she uses to devastating effect against the Republic's forces. In the end, the Imperial Army manages to repel the attack, but at a great cost in terms of personnel and resources. Tanya is assigned to lead a new battalion of soldiers, which includes several fresh recruits and a few experienced veterans. She is initially skeptical of their abilities and thinks that they will only hold her back, but she soon realizes that they have potential. Tanya focuses on training and tactics, trying to make the best of the resources she has available. However, she is forced to improvise when her battalion is ambushed by the Republic's forces and they are left stranded behind enemy lines. Tanya is forced to take on a new role as a mentor to her troops, and she pushes them to their limits in order to survive. Despite heavy casualties, they are eventually able to fight their way back to safety, with Tanya emerging as a hero in the eyes of her soldiers. As the war continues, Tanya begins to experience strange and disturbing visions of being X, who seems to be taunting her and challenging her beliefs. She becomes increasingly paranoid and obsessed with her own power, leading her to make some questionable decisions on the battlefield. Meanwhile, the Empire is facing a new threat in the form of a powerful mage from the Republic, who is wreaking havoc on their troops. Tanya is sent to deal with the mage, but she quickly realizes that she may have met her match. The Republic mage proves to be a formidable opponent, and she is forced to retreat. Back at headquarters, Tanya faces criticism from her superiors for her failure, and they begin to doubt her abilities. Tanya becomes increasingly unstable and begins to act recklessly on the battlefield, putting her soldiers at risk. Her obsession with power and victory leads her to make some morally questionable decisions, which begin to take a toll on her psyche. Tanya is sent to lead an attack on the Republic's forces at a strategic fjord, where they have established a strong defensive position. She devises a risky plan to outflank the enemy, but her superiors are hesitant to approve it. Tanya's plan succeeds, and her battalion is able to break through the enemy lines. However, they soon discover that the Republic has a powerful new weapon, a massive flying fortress, which poses a major threat to their forces. Tanya is forced to come up with a new strategy to take down the fortress, and she decides to use a group of aerial mages to attack it from above. The plan is successful, but many people die. After the battle, Tanya is given a new assignment to lead a team of mages in developing a new weapon for the Empire. She hesitates but quickly realizes that this is her chance to prove her worth to her superiors. Tanya becomes obsessed with the project and works tirelessly to make it a success. However, she soon discovers that the weapon has a devastating side effect. It causes the user to go insane and lose all sense of reason. Despite this, Tanya continues to push forward with the project, convinced that the benefits outweigh the risks. However, her recklessness ultimately leads to disaster, and she is forced to face the consequences of her actions. Tanya and her battalion are given a new mission to advance into the heart of the Republic's territory and capture a key industrial city. Tanya is confident in her abilities, but she faces opposition from her superiors, who are concerned about the risks involved. Tanya convinces them to let her proceed, and she begins to make preparations for the mission. She trains her soldiers rigorously and comes up with a new strategy to overcome the Republic's defenses. Tanya and her battalion face fierce resistance from the Republic's forces, but they are able to make steady progress. However, Tanya soon discovers that the Republic has a powerful new weapon, a giant cannon that can destroy entire cities. Tanya devises a plan to destroy the Republic's giant cannon, but it requires her to lead a dangerous mission behind enemy lines. Despite the risks, Tanya is determined to see the mission through to the end. As she and her team make their way to the cannon, they face a series of obstacles and setbacks, but Tanya's ingenuity and resourcefulness help them overcome each challenge. Eventually, Tanya and her team are able to reach the cannon and destroy it, dealing a major blow to the Republic's forces. However, they soon discover that the Republic has another powerful weapon in reserve, a massive army of automated dolls that can fight without human guidance. As Tanya and her battalion prepare to face the Republic's army of automated dolls, they are joined by a new ally, Colonel Anson Su, a former member of the Republican Army who has defected to the Empire. With Su's help, Tanya is able to come up with a new strategy to defeat the dolls. They lure the dolls into a trap and use a massive explosion to destroy them all at once. As the battle comes to a close, Tanya is confronted by an unexpected enemy, Mary Sue, Anson's younger sister, who is seeking revenge for her brother's defection. Tanya faces off against Mary in a fierce battle, but she is able to defeat her with the help of her soldiers. However, Tanya's victory is short-lived, as she soon learns that her superiors have a new mission for her to lead an attack on the Entente Alliance, a powerful coalition of nations that have aligned against the Empire. Despite the overwhelming odds against them, Tanya is determined to lead her soldiers to victory once again. She devises a bold plan to outmaneuver the Entente's forces and attack them from the rear. As Tanya and her battalion prepare to launch their attack on the Entente Alliance, they face fierce resistance from the enemy's forces. However, Tanya's plan succeeds, and her soldiers are able to break through the enemy lines. As the battle rages on, Tanya faces off against a powerful mage from the Entente Alliance, who proves to be a formidable opponent. However, Tanya is able to use her wits and tactical genius to outmaneuver the mage and defeat him. With the Entente Alliance in shambles, Tanya and her soldiers emerge victorious. However, Tanya's victory is bittersweet as she realizes that her obsession with power and victory has taken a toll on her psyche and her relationships with those around her.